So Bitcoin in the entire market has been down recently. And in this video, I'm going to talk about exactly what's going on behind the scenes and why it's happening, as well as my trading strategy in the upcoming weeks to months. Now, if you've yet to subscribe to the channel, I want you to go ahead and do so below, because I have been in the crypto market for about a decade and I have about over 200,000 followers over on Twitter and X, because I've been trading and investing in crypto for a while, and I like to share my insights on YouTube. So if you've yet to do that, go ahead and click the white subscribe button right there. Make sure to turn on notifications, because each and every week I have more content for you about the market and crypto trading and investing. With that said, let's go ahead and dive on in. And just to know what's going on, if you look at the overall crypto landscape, it just doesn't look very good, right? We hate the color red when it comes to markets. But understand that Bitcoin, if you go ahead and zoom out a little bit, it does look okay. If you look here on the weekly chart, it's holding up the uptrend over the past couple of years quite fine, but we don't want it to break down any more than what it's doing right now. Now, going ahead and looking over at the stock market, whether you invest or not, this is the weekly stock market chart for the SPX, and it looks ugly. That is an ugly candle when it comes to the weekly stock market that closed on Friday. So can we get a similar candle like back in July of 2024, where it did open up lower on the week, but then had a massive green candle to break back above that major moving average? We'll see this week in exactly what's going on, but just understand that major tech companies are selling off. A lot of the big names are down, and Bitcoin followed the steps of the stock market, because as I've said before, if you look at the Pearson correlation, the 30-day, basically what this does is it takes the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and gold and compares those to Bitcoin. And so understanding that both the NASDAQ and S&P 500, the stock market, is almost at a 1 correlation with Bitcoin, about 0.9, which means that Bitcoin is following the stock market hand in hand. So if the stock market pulls back because of some type of tariff or other inflation scares, then just understand that Bitcoin currently at the moment is going to follow. And that's exactly what we see right here with the Bitcoin Pearson correlation. So moving on, inflation is running red hot. And if you don't know what that means, basically it's not good for markets. And as you see here on Twitter, the inflation is hot. The 1, 3, and 6 month annualized headline and core PCE inflation are now all above 3%. And if you have no idea what PCE stands for, that's personal consumption expenditure. And that basically measures how much prices are rising for things that people are actually spending money on. So you talk about energy, you talk about homes, you talk about food and all those things. This is all put in the PCE numbers, and core PCE actually removes food and energy to focus on more stable and underlying inflation trends. But here's the key. Core PCE just came out at 2.8% year over year, which is slightly above expectations. And anytime inflation comes out above expectations, we know the response of the market is to pull back with fear. So inflation is not yet cooling off, as well as we have a 1 month annualized core PCE inflation that is now running at a whopping 4.5%. And if those numbers mean nothing to you, that is well above the Fed's target of 2% for inflation. So because of that, we did see markets pull back with both the stock market as well as Bitcoin. And so if you look, the market pulled back from about 87,000 Bitcoin, dropped to around 81,000, not quite 10%, but a decent 8 to 9% dip there. And that's because of the uncertainty with inflation that is coming out. Now, what is driving this inflation? As you can see that the numbers are quite high here for inflation are as far as expectations. And that's because, as we know, because all of the tariffs, all the new trade policies and taxes on imports that are raising the cost of goods, which pushes inflation higher. And that's the issue right now. Economists are already adjusting forecasts because of this, and that's the headwind for the markets right now. So now, Bitcoin, again, as I said, is highly correlated with the stock market. And because of that, we've seen Bitcoin being dragged down as well. And this is a reason why you see all this shred in the markets right now. So the good news though, what is the good news? Overall, with the markets to pull back as much as they have, Bitcoin is basically still in this range, right? Because we've hit as low as 76,000, hit as high as around 92,000, which is I've put in a range here with the midline being around 84,000. We want to get back above 84,000 and hold that. But overall, if we do see Bitcoin at all break back above 92 to 93,000, that's going to be overall good for the markets and a bullish signal. What we don't want to happen is to see Bitcoin break back down below, and on the weekly chart, we can see this 50 weekly moving average as we have held above this over the past couple of years. Every time we get down below the 50 weekly moving average, the market has bounced, and that's been pretty much a bottom signal, even though we've wicked down below it over the past couple of years. So we definitely want to see the price of Bitcoin hold above that. And if it does break down below that by any means, especially on the daily or the weekly, I am looking for this green box as far as $68,000 to $73,000 to be the absolute bottom for Bitcoin. But I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect Bitcoin to get down that low. And that, again, is because I think we're still in a bullish market environment. I still see the uptrend overall happening here on the weekly chart. Bitcoin looks fine. And as we know that if we can get these inflation numbers down in the coming weeks, if tariff news comes out that is positive, anything good at all, we know that the market is going to rip a lot higher in the coming months, as well as the Federal Reserve likely to cut rates potentially in the summertime, sometime around June, July, August. We have to wait to see that, but we do know that this is likely short-term pain. And when I say short-term pain is because if you zoom out and look at the big picture overall, there's a lot of cool stuff out, a lot of cool charts out that talk about the Bitcoin cycle model. And of course, what Cena 21st says is that thinking that Bitcoin is lagging this cycle, it is trading at almost exactly what the price that prior cycles would suggest via our Bitcoin cycle model. And via his model, which he has used and broken down in the lower tweets, but I won't get into that, he does predict that the Bitcoin price will go as high as 200 to 250,000 over the next couple of years, give or take. So with that said, we do think that Bitcoin does have the possibility of continuing on the cycle up over $200,000, well above 2 to 3x where it currently stands over the next few years. And this is short-term pain for long-term gain. And we've also, as I discussed before, the Bitcoin hash ribbons flashing a buy signal that you see on the chart right here. Every time it turns blue, that's typically around a local bottom for Bitcoin. Okay, so understand it doesn't just automatically bottom, boom, and then things go higher from there. With the Bitcoin hash ribbons, typically it takes weeks, sometimes months for us to see the results in that of a long-term uptrend. But overall, things are looking pretty good, and my strategy has not yet changed. As I've talked about before, a great accumulation price does seem to be in the $70,000 to $80,000 for Bitcoin. As I've said before, and I've showed charts, I do not believe that this is a start of a bear market. And I can also probably get into that in the future, why I think we will continue on a bullish market uptrend in the coming months to year. I just wanted to break down exactly what's going on right now with the economy. That is tariffs. That's the PCE inflation that is running red hot right now. Because of that, we have seen the market, specifically with stocks, pull back, and with Bitcoin being highly correlated with the stock market, as you can see almost at 1 here, we know that Bitcoin as well is going to pull back with the stock market. So what I'm doing right now is staying patient. It's a very volatile time right now here this month. Understanding that, I'm looking to accumulate on dips. When I do see the ETH BTC chart, which has hit another low long term, basically comparing altcoins and ETH to Bitcoin, what's the best thing to hold. As we've seen over the past couple of years, Bitcoin clearly stands to be the best asset to hold when it comes to crypto. But overall, when I think that this is bottomed out and this starts to bounce, that's when I'll start to get into altcoins. But at this time, at the moment, I'm not yet touching most altcoins as far as long-term investment. So we're just going to go ahead and continue to watch macro to see if that can flip the market. But short-term pain, not a trend reversal yet. If inflation cools, if tariff ease, we can see that Bitcoin will likely start to move back in the other direction. So that's it for me right now. That's what I'm looking at the market. If you want more market insight, which I'm going to give here in the coming days, you need to subscribe below. So make sure that you do that. You click the white button there and make sure that you turn on those notifications so that you can get market insights each and every week on Bitcoin and helpful, especially if you're finding the information helpful. Make sure to click the like button. So with that said, you are watching Rager Crypto. I will be back shortly with more updates on Bitcoin in the crypto market. As always, you guys trade safe and have a great day.